Yeah, me and Nelly were dating. Irv was salty. Irv would not let me come to the studio to record. Irv was telling everyone not to record with me. Why do I want to stay in that situation? How can I stay in that situation?
I want to be with Irv, but then a part of me is like, you know what? I think I've outgrown you.
The women that you're with, you refer to them as scallywag.
In 2007, he came out with a reality show called Gotti's Way. And Gotti's Way was only 2 seasons, but those 2 seasons showed me an intimate view on what it looked like to decouple, what it looked like to attempt to co-parent, the differences between what a mother felt that the family needed and what she needed as an individual, and what the father thought he needed to do to be a provider and to keep his family together.
Welcome back to StarHush. And trust me, you're going to want to grab your popcorn because this one is messy. Is a surviving Irv Gotti documentary on the way? Because his ex-wife is finally breaking her silence and spilling all the tea on how Irv tore his family apart over his obsession with Ashanti. And let's be honest, we've all seen it. The way Irv can't go a single interview without name-dropping Ashanti like she's his long-lost soulmate. The man has been talking about her for years, and she barely even acknowledges his existence. At this point, it's borderline embarrassing. And when Ashanti made it clear that she wanted nothing to do with him, not personally or professionally, Irv completely lost it. But what's even crazier, his ex-wife Deb is saying that this wasn't just industry drama. It was a full-blown crisis inside their home. According to Deb, Irv's obsession with Ashanti ran so deep that it poisoned their marriage and turned their family life into a nightmare. And let's not forget, this wasn't some teenage crush. Irv was a grown man, married with kids, yet he was out here risking everything for a woman who never claimed him. And the way he treated Deb because of it, unforgivable. This man built his career while Deb stood by his side, helping him through everything, only for him to throw it all away over a fantasy. And while he was out here playing himself in public at home, he was making Deb pay the price for trying to hold their family together. This is next level messy. And now that Deb is finally ready to tell her side, it's time to break it all down. Because this is about to get even worse than we thought.
There's no boundaries. Like, he comes, we're there, we're available. He's living 2 lives. And for me, it doesn't make sense.
You have found that woman. It might not have lasted, but you have found...
She's definitely a special one, but she wasn't special enough for me to stop.
Irv Gotti and Deb Lorenzo's marriage officially ended in 2013, closing the chapter on a relationship that lasted over a decade. But let's be real. People had been saying for years that Deb should have left him a long time ago. Because if there was one thing Irv was consistent with, it was being downright awful to the woman who stood by him. He wasn't just disrespectful behind closed doors, he did it right in front of their kids. Imagine this: your own husband openly mocking you, questioning your intelligence, and even telling your daughter that she needs to do better than you. It's beyond cruel. But here's the thing, Deb didn't walk into this marriage expecting disaster. When she and Irv got married in 2003, she had a vision. She knew he'd be traveling, signing big deals, and building his empire. And she was ready to hold it down at home, raising their children while he secured their future. But what she didn't expect was the endless parade of women that Irv brought into their lives. And the worst part? Irv didn't even try to hide it. He genuinely believed he wasn't doing anything wrong. He told Deb straight to her face that she was crazy for thinking she could ever be the only woman to satisfy him. Like, what? Not only was he disloyal, but he had the audacity to act like it was her fault for expecting better. And what made it even worse, this man thought he was untouchable. He was running around, living like a bachelor, while expecting Deb to stay quiet, accept the humiliation, and keep the family together.
Still married, but we were separated when they were dating. I was used to it from the beginning, like him going and traveling. I just wasn't used to the women. That was like new, like, where did these hoes come from?
You know, I think...
You wanted people to forgive you when you do stuff?
Don't talk about the cheat. I'm a good chip off the old block, aside from the infidelities. You know, in my crazy mind, I thought that was life. This is my wife, this is my family, but this bitch is here to suck my
The audacity. Their marriage wasn't just dysfunctional, it was a full-blown disaster. And for those who remember Gotti's Way, the reality show that aired in 2007, we all got a front row seat to just how bad things really were for Deb. But despite it all, Deb still stayed. She truly believed that Irv would change. At one point, she even tried to divorce him after discovering his affairs, but then came the hardest part, the kids. Their oldest, Sonny, didn't want to see their family break apart. And if there was one thing about Irv, it was that he was a great father. Say what you want about him as a husband, but when it came to his children, he showed up.
And it wasn't just for his biological kids. Deb had a daughter from a previous relationship, and Irv stepped in and raised her like his own.
In fact, she didn't even know he wasn't her biological father until she overheard it outside of their home. That's how deep his role as a father was. And to his credit, even after she found out, their bond never changed. While Irv was constantly traveling, chasing money, deals, and other women, he always made sure to be back home on weekends. He was present at school events, family outings, and spent real time with his kids. He played the role of the devoted father, but never the devoted husband. And that's what kept Deb hanging on. Because every time he came home, she had hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe this time things would be different. But in reality, Irv never intended to change. The other women came and went, but his behavior never stopped. And as time passed, Deb realized she was holding on to a dream that would never come true. And for a while, there wasn't one specific woman that Irv was fixated on. That is, until Ashanti. Once Ashanti became the princess of Murder, Inc., everything changed. Her songs were dominating the charts, her face was everywhere, and big brand deals were rolling in. And Irv, he couldn't stop talking about her. Every conversation, every interview, it was always Ashanti this, Ashanti that. Meanwhile, Deb was at home, raising their children, holding down the family while Irv was out living the fast life. At first, it seemed like business as usual, but then Irv's priorities shifted completely. He was spending more time in the studio than he was at home. And eventually, he became more of a part-time dad than a real parent, sharing responsibilities. And then the whispers started, people began talking. Irv and Ashanti weren't just making music, they were making moves together. And by moves, it wasn't just about business anymore. The rumors started swirling that their relationship wasn't just professional. Then came the infamous Wendy Williams interview. Irv sat down with Wendy and tried to shut the rumors down, swearing up and down that Ashanti wasn't a homewrecker. According to him, they were deeply in love, but only got together after he and Deb had already separated.
Why is it that if a man gets married, a man and woman get married, if they're separated, they're not gonna be together. They're not staying together. I can't go mess with other girls until I sign a divorce paper? Why? Why?
No, yes, you can.
Okay, then what's the problem?
But let's be real. Was that really the truth? Because if you ask Deb, things between her and Irv only started falling apart once Ashanti entered the picture and got a little too close for comfort. And from there, their marriage was never the same.
She used to wear these juicy sweats and her ass was looking fat. Her ass was looking great. So one day, I was like, yo, I'll take you home. She said, bet, cool. I walk her to a front door of her crib. She turns to say goodbye. And I just kiss her and grab her ass and just mwah.
Things went from bad to downright unbearable once Ashanti moved on with Nelly. That breakup hit Irv hard, and honestly, he never recovered. For a man who built an empire and controlled so much in his career, losing Ashanti was a blow he just couldn't handle. And since she wanted nothing to do with him anymore, he allegedly took out all that anger and frustration on Deb. His attitude toward her grew nastier by the day. He made no effort to hide his bitterness, and soon he was outright disrespecting her, even in front of their children. Imagine your kids watching their father treat their mother like she was nothing. It was cruel, and the worst part, Deb couldn't just walk away. She and the kids were completely dependent on Irv financially. She didn't have a steady job, her own money, or the resources to leave, and Irv, he knew it. And instead of helping or supporting her, he used that power against her. It became clear he wanted full control over her life, just like he thought he had over Ashanti's.
It's the fear and like, can I survive on my own? I feel stuck a little bit. And I've been like this for a while. I stayed this long because I was afraid. When we first separated, I really thought, Irv would come back home. I thought we would work things out. And then as time goes on, you see it's not gonna work.
But let's rewind a little. Before Irv even confirmed that he and Ashanti were a thing, the industry was already buzzing with rumors. Most people thought Ashanti was romantically involved with either Ja Rule or C. Santana. Nobody suspected that Irv was the one secretly in love with her. And so when he finally went public, boldly declaring to millions of people that he was the one in love with Ashanti, he blew the gates wide open. And from that moment on, everything changed. For his career, for his family, for everyone. Because Irv wasn't just in love with Ashanti, he was obsessed. And everyone around him paid the price.
Made those records. You know what I'm saying? Like, she wrote them, but she wrote them with the help of me telling her what to write. And all of y'all, whoever knows me, I don't lie. I'm not a liar. I'm gonna spritz it up and jazz it up. Is this the camera?
Yes.
Ashanti, you cannot spritz it up, you cannot jazz it up. The minute you put some spritzy and jazz it up, it's not a cover. So when it's not a cover, now it has to come back to me to clear it.
Irv had always been reckless, but after going public about Ashanti, he became even more shameless. He didn't just brag about his past relationships, he started openly flaunting them. He had zero shame talking about the other women he had messed with in Hollywood. One of his biggest flexes, he claimed he was one of the people who gave Corinne Steffens the nickname Superhead. And if that wasn't wild enough, he straight up said that cheating was his right, like it was just part of the game. He really believed he was entitled to mess around with as many women as he wanted. At first, Deb had tolerated the affairs, not because she was okay with it, but because it was kept quiet. But now, he was out here broadcasting it for the entire world to see. No shame, no remorse, and worse, their kids were old enough to hear all of it. Imagine growing up watching your father openly disrespect your mother on TV, in interviews, and in front of cameras. At that moment, Deb knew she was done. There was nothing left to fight for. This wasn't a marriage anymore. It was a humiliation tour. So she made the decision that should have been made long ago. She packed up her things, left, and never looked back. And honestly, that was the best thing she could have ever done. Because while Irv was still out here chasing old fantasies and running his mouth, Deb finally got her freedom. And honestly, leaving was the best decision Deb ever made. Because let's be real, Irv never changed. Even at 48 years old, this man was still out here talking about wanting a freaky ride or die. Someone who would have his kids and let him cheat freely like it was a privilege. Delusional. And even after all these years, he stayed hung up on Ashanti. It's like no matter how many women he messed with, how many interviews he did, how much money he made, Ashanti was the one that got away. And now that Deb has spoken her truth, the people have a lot to say. One comment said, Irv Gotti beat the feds in $1 million money laundering case, but instead of telling that story, he chooses to talk about the time he slept with Ashanti 20 years ago. And another, straight facts. They say women are emotional, yet an emotional man will do 32 interviews about a woman who hasn't typed a single sentence about him. Like, where's the lie? At the end of the day, Deb finally broke free, Ashanti moved on, and Irv, he's still talking about the same woman who won't even acknowledge him. Karma is real. But now I want to hear from you. How do you feel about everything Deb revealed? Do you think she should have left earlier? Or was she just trying to hold her family together? And do you think Irv ever really loved Ashanti? Or was it just an obsession? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Smash that like button and hit subscribe because you know the drama won't stop. And I'll see you in the next one, my stars and hushers.